Hi, my name is Beth Azor, and I own shopping centers in South Florida. And this is my podcast, I Own a Shopping Center, Now What? So today I want to speak to you all about a recent conversation I had with a tenant who's been at one of my properties for 10 years. And he has a renewal to renew for 5 years at market rent. Now, he's paying a very high rent. He's paying in the mid-50s. And I don't want to lose him. This is a property that I have some vacancy at. The reason I have vacancy at it is the ridiculous parking formulas and codes from my town will preclude me from putting in any food and beverage, any additional food and beverage, fitness, anything that will take a high degree of parking. Just to give you an example, in my town, for my Domino's Pizza tenant, I have to have 24 parking spaces, which is 2 per 100 square feet, which is ridiculous. So anyway, I can only put retail in my remaining vacancies, and it's pure retail, like the hobby store that I've told you about in the past episodes, which was a great find. But to find pure retail that just doesn't need to be on the internet is difficult. So back to this particular tenant, I don't want to lose him. He's a great tenant. And so I made him 2 offers. The first offer was because he's hemming and hawing if he wants to renew. Now, I think that he absolutely does want to renew, and he's just negotiating with me. He has 2 other locations besides my location, and I've heard through the grapevine, through other tenants of mine who speak to employees of his, that he's having a partnership dispute at one of his other locations, and the other location he is not doing as well as our location. Now, I track sales, as you all know, and his sales at the high point of his tenancy was over 2 million. And now it's down to about 1.2. So why did that occur? A couple things. One, when he started opening the other locations, the boss, the owner, started going to those other locations and left non-leadership in the space. And you could see how the sales started dropping when that occurred. And I brought that to his attention, and he denied that was an issue and told me that it was just because there was a lot of competition opening in the area. So I said, okay. And he was paying his rent, never had a problem paying his rent. So, it's kind of none of my business, but I did bring it up to him because obviously when you have a $2 million store in 2,400 square feet and it goes down to 1.2, that concerns me as the landlord. I made him, so he was hemming and hawing. I'm not sure if I'm going to renew. I didn't really believe him, but you need to be vigilant on this. So I made him 2 offers. One was a 1-year renewal, so he could decide what he wants to do, stay or go. And I said it's a 5% increase on his, I think, $55 a square foot. The other option I gave him was a 5-year renewal where he kept his rent set for year 1. I didn't renew him in the first year of the new option. And then I said 4% annual increases after that. So we met face to face. This was all kind of over emails and texts. So he wanted to have a meeting. So he tells me in the meeting that he has 3 concerns with the shopping center. One, that the traffic in front of my shopping center, which has 65,000 cars daily, causes backups. And one of the reasons his sales have dropped is because of the backup of the traffic on the street. So I just listened quietly to all of his complaints. The second one is that he said I have no anchors at my property. Remember, this is an unanchored strip center, 42,000 square feet. And then the last thing he said that there was no parking. So I said, well, you knew the traffic counts when you leased here 10 years ago. And we had this similar amount of traffic. Maybe it's increased a little bit, but I think it was 55,000 or 60 when I bought it or when he moved in. So, nothing new has changed here. And then two, the no anchors. I said, when you moved in here, you knew that there were no, frankly, when you moved in here, I didn't have some of the quote unquote anchors that I have today. So I've added tenants since he's moved in, and certainly added sales. And I shared with him that the center for the tenants that report their sales equal about $20 million. And then the no parking issue, I said, well, certainly you used to be the parking hog when you were over 2 million, but look, and I said, look outside right now, there's plenty of parking. Then what I did is I said, let's talk about, you've got two other locations. Which one is performing the best? And he, kind of hemmed and hawed on that one and didn't really answer it directly. And I said, well, let's talk about your other two locations. Certainly you don't have the traffic counts that you have here, understandably, but let's talk about the anchors. You don't have any anchors at the other two shopping centers either. You've chosen to lease in shopping centers that don't have grocery anchored centers. So, is that your new strategy, that you're only going to go into Publix anchored centers? And then parking. One of the centers that I'm very familiar with, that he has a major national restaurant, which I said, do you consider that an anchor? They're only open at night. They're not open at lunch, but it's a huge parking problem for him starting at about 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. So his night business is impacted. Like when I go to that restaurant, I can't even find a parking place. So the important facts that I'm sharing with you all is, obviously you should listen to your tenants about their complaints, but you also should have knowledge about the situation. For example, is this a change since he's leased? What are his sales? What is attributed to the sales dropping? And if he has other locations, be familiar with the other locations so you can respond to his concerns. I said to him, if my sales dropped 30%, I probably would not consider renewing here. And if the traffic counts stop you from having business, then you should probably look at an area that doesn't have as much traffic, which of course, in my mind, is just ridiculous. But, I was very calm and matter of fact, and just questioned his complaints, saying, tell me more. I don't understand. So you want a property that has less traffic to drive more business. So he couldn't really say anything. I don't think he expected me to be as familiar with his other two locations than I was. And I know it's hard for some of you that own shopping centers in other states and don't have the knowledge. It's just so important, especially when you're sitting down talking about a renewal. This is a situation where, and oh, by the way, one of my tenants sent me a picture of a moving truck in front of his space about 2 weeks ago at night. And at first my heart fell, but actually he was moving in new furniture and fixtures. So they were upgrading some of their furniture in their space. And, she just said, hey, look what's happening next door. He's upgrading and renovating. She has no idea that I'm talking to him about a renewal. So I feel pretty confident he's going to renew. But the point is at 2,400 square feet at $50, 100, 500, we're talking about probably a $4 million value. Let's see if those numbers are right here. Hold on. So 2,400 times 55 is 132 a year, divided by, let's say, 0.06 cap rate. So 2 million, it's a $2.2 million value. It's not, you shouldn't take it loosely, right? You should be taking it seriously and really understanding the future of your shopping center, and not be willy-nilly about it, or leave it into the hands of maybe a junior leasing agent to do a renewal, right? I mean, you guys that have these properties in other states and rely on third party, all of that's fine and good, but you should be staying involved and asking the questions, and maybe being present for the meetings or on a phone call so you can hear how they are handling it with these tenants. So I hope this helped. If you liked the podcast, share, post, subscribe, all that jazz. And if you have a topic you'd like me to discuss, please DM me. Have a great week.